You're lying in bed. It's 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. The blue light from your phone is burning your retinas, and you are doing that thing we all do. You're doom scrolling Zillow. You're looking at a $500,000 house in your area. You swipe through the photos. It's not a mansion. It's not even a luxury build. It's a slightly updated 1990s three-bedroom house with those gray, luxury vinyl plank floors that flippers love, and maybe a backyard that's mostly dead grass. You sit there, doing mental gymnastics. You make $85,000, maybe $95,000 a year. You did everything right. You went to college, you negotiated your salary, you paid off your car, and you even scraped together a $25,000 down payment. But as you stare at the estimated monthly payment on this painfully average $500,000 house, your stomach drops. You think to yourself, how is anyone affording this? Is everyone just secretly rich, or am I doing something incredibly wrong? My name is Scarlett, and I spend way too much time thinking about the housing market and the brutal mathematical reality of modern wealth. If you're someone who feels like the goalposts for financial stability just keep getting pushed further and further away no matter how hard you work, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, I need to be brutally honest with you. The financial advice that worked for your parents in 1998 is completely bankrupting people today. We have this deep, culturally ingrained belief that renting is throwing money away, and that buying a house, any house, at any price, is the ultimate sign that you have finally made it as an adult. We are told to get our foot in the door of the property market as soon as humanly possible. But here is the thing. Blindly following that advice in 2026 is exactly what is trapping a massive portion of the middle class in a cycle of suffocating, inescapable debt. I see it every single day, and frankly, it frustrates me to no end. People are financially ruining their futures because they refuse to look at the actual math. So today, we are going to look at the math. We are going to strip away the real estate agent propaganda. We're going to ignore the TikTok bros telling you to just house hack your way to millions. And we are going to calculate exactly who can actually afford a $500,000 house in 2026. Let's run the numbers. Real dollar figures, no fluff. Let's say you find that $500,000 house. Like most first-time buyers right now, you do not have $100,000 sitting in cash for a 20% down payment. It's just not realistic for most people. So you put down 5%, which is $25,000. That leaves you with a loan of $475,000. As we sit here in 2026, mortgage rates are hovering right around 6.5%. Some days a little higher, some days a little lower. But let's use 6.5% for the sake of reality. Your principal and interest payment alone is going to be about $3,002 a month. But as anyone who has ever owned a house knows, your mortgage payment is just the cover charge to get into the club. Next, we have property taxes. Depending on where you live, taxes have skyrocketed over the last few years as property values went up. Let's use a conservative national average of about $500 a month. Then we have homeowners insurance. Here's what most people don't realize. Insurance premiums have absolutely exploded since 2023. Between climate risks, inflation, and rebuilding costs, insurance companies are bleeding. You are easily looking at $250 a month, and if you live in states like Florida, Texas, or California, you can go ahead and double or triple that number, but we'll keep it at $250. Because you put down less than 20%, you are getting hit with private mortgage insurance, or PMI, at another $150 a month. So your absolute baseline unavoidable monthly payment, your PITI, is $3,902. But we are not done, because when you own a house, when the water heater explodes at 2 a.m., your landlord isn't coming to fix it. You are the landlord. The standard rule of thumb is to set aside 1% of the home's value every year for maintenance and repairs. On a $500,000 house, that's $5,000 a year, or roughly $416 a month. Add that up, your true monthly cost of carrying this deeply average $500,000 house is $4,318 every single month. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Scarlett, but my lender pre-approved me for $550,000 on my $95,000 salary. The bank says I can afford this. Listen to me very carefully. The bank does not care if you can afford to live. The bank only cares if you can afford to pay them. The bank's definition of affordable is the maximum amount of money they can legally extract from your bank account without you defaulting. Let's look at your actual life on a $95,000 salary. Gross, you make about $7,900 a month, but you don't get to spend gross income. After federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, decent health insurance premiums, and a responsible 10% contribution to your 401k, your actual take-home pay, the cash that hits your account, is roughly $5,200. If you buy this $500,000 house, your housing cost is $4,318. That leaves you with $882 a month to pay for groceries, car insurance, gas, your phone bill, utilities, internet, student loans, and God forbid, a single social outing with your friends. You are not a homeowner at that point. You are a hostage. Your house is a beautifully painted prison cell. You will wake up, go to work, come home, and sit on the couch because you literally cannot afford to leave your house. You are entirely one blown transmission or one medical emergency away from total financial collapse. And yet, millions of people are doing this. Why? What is the psychological driver making smart, capable people sign up for a decade of financial misery? It's a mix of immense societal pressure and extreme FOMO, the fear of missing out. Over the last 6 years, we watched people who bought homes in 2019 or 2020 see their net worth explode simply because they happened to be alive and of purchasing age at the right time. We watched our friends lock in 2.8% interest rates, and we feel this desperate, frantic panic that if we don't buy right now, we are going to be left behind forever. We are buying houses out of fear, not out of financial readiness. And the irony is, by rushing into a house you can't afford because you're afraid of being broke, you are guaranteeing that you will be broke. You are locking in poverty. This is where it gets really interesting, though. If a $95,000 salary can't safely buy a $500,000 house, what is the actual magic number? Who are the people actually buying these homes without drowning, and what exact math are they using? Let's look at the actual magic number. In personal finance, the golden rule, the one that actually protects you from ruin, is the 28% rule. It dictates that your total housing costs should never exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. So, if we take our true monthly carrying cost of $4,318 for that deeply average $500,000 house, and we apply the 28% rule, what do we get? We divide 4,318 by 0.28. That equals a required gross monthly income of $15,421. Multiply that by 12, and you are looking at an annual salary of roughly $185,000. I really want you to let that sink in for a second. To safely, comfortably afford a basic $500,000 starter-level home in 2026 without compromising your retirement, without living off credit cards, and without sweating every time you buy groceries, your household needs to bring in almost $190,000 a year. That is not a middle-class income. That puts you in the top tier of earners in the country. And yet, society is still treating a $500,000 house like it's the entry-level prize for getting a standard college degree and a regular 9-to-5 job. The math and the cultural expectation have completely detached from one another. So this begs the question, if the math is this brutal, who is actually buying these houses right now? When you go to an open house and see a line of people out the door, who are they? Here's what most people don't realize.
The people buying these houses fall into three very specific categories, and understanding this is the key to protecting your own mental health when you feel like you're falling behind. The first group is the dual income tech or corporate couples, the DINKs, double income, no kids. This is the couple where one works as a software engineer making $120,000 and the other is a marketing director making $95,000. Combined, they are pulling in over $200,000 a year. They aren't buying this house on a single average salary. It takes two high earners combining forces to make the 28% rule work today. The second group, and honestly, this is the biggest force in the market right now, are what I call the equity rollers. These are people, usually boomers or older millennials, who bought their first house back in 2014 for $200,000. They rode the massive, unprecedented wave of appreciation over the last 12 years. They just sold that house for $450,000, and they are rolling $200,000 or even $250,000 in raw cash equity into this new $500,000 house as a massive down payment. Think about that for a second. If you put $250,000 down on a $500,000 house, your loan is only $250,000. Your monthly payment gets cut in half. The equity rollers are playing an entirely different game than you are. It's like jumping onto a treadmill. The equity rollers stepped onto the treadmill 10 years ago when it was moving at a slow, comfortable walk. Now, that treadmill is sprinting at 15 miles per hour. You, the first-time buyer, are trying to jump onto a sprinting treadmill from a dead standstill, and you are wondering why you're face-planting. You aren't doing anything wrong. The machine is just moving too fast for a running start. And then, there is the third group. I need you to pay close attention to this group because they are the reason you feel so bad about yourself on social media. The third group is the house poor pretenders. These are people making $85,000 or $90,000 a year who bought the $500,000 house anyway. They ignored the math. They took on the $4,300 a month payment. On Instagram, they look like they are thriving. They're posting photos with the keys, popping champagne on the porch, #homeowner. But behind closed doors, the reality is terrifying. They are drowning because 55% of their take-home pay is going to the house. They are putting their groceries on high-interest credit cards. They are using buy now, pay later apps for their kids' winter coats. They have stopped contributing to their 401ks entirely. They are sitting on a ticking bomb of consumer debt, sacrificing their entire financial future, their retirement, and their peace of mind just to maintain the illusion of the American dream. When you compare yourself to your peers, you have to remember that you are looking at their highlights reel, not their bank statements. A massive percentage of the people you think are ahead of you are actually heavily leveraged and silently panicking. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Scarlett, so the math is terrible and everyone is either rich, rolling equity, or faking it. I'll just wait. I'll rent for another year or two, wait for the housing market to crash, and scoop up a house when prices drop back down to $300,000. Or I'll wait for interest rates to go back to 3%. Look, I hear this every single day in my comment section, and it absolutely breaks my heart because it's a completely flawed psychological coping mechanism. It's comforting to believe a crash is coming because it gives you a sense of control over an uncontrollable situation. But let's look at the facts. First of all, the 3% interest rates of 2020 and 2021 were a historical anomaly. They were the result of a global pandemic and the Federal Reserve artificially suppressing rates to keep the global economy from entering a depression. Unless we get another once-in-a-century catastrophic global event, we are not going back to 3%. A 6 or 7% mortgage rate isn't high. Historically speaking, it's completely normal. Your parents probably bought their first house at 8 or 9%. Secondly, waiting for a housing crash is a terrible financial strategy for the middle class. Here's why. If a massive economic crash happens that is severe enough to wipe 40% off the value of real estate across the board, do you honestly think your job is going to be secure? Do you think banks are going to be eagerly handing out mortgages to first-time buyers with 5% down during a severe recession? No. When housing crashes happen, the middle class loses their jobs and gets locked out of lending. You know who buys up all the cheap real estate during a crash? Wealthy investors and massive corporate hedge funds paying in all cash. A housing crash does not help the working class buy homes. It allows the rich to consolidate more assets at a discount. So, if buying right now at these prices will bankrupt you, and waiting for a magical crash is a statistical pipe dream, what on earth are you supposed to do? Are you just doomed to rent forever, throwing your money into a landlord's pocket while your own net worth flatlines? This is where it gets really interesting, because the answer is actually no, but it requires you to do something incredibly difficult. It requires you to completely unlearn everything society has told you about how wealth is built. There's a specific, actionable blueprint that smart money is using right now in 2026 to build massive wealth without buying that overpriced $500,000 trap.
The blueprint is actually simple, but psychologically, it is the hardest thing I will ever ask you to do. You have to make peace with renting, and you have to fundamentally change your definition of what throwing money away actually means. We have been completely brainwashed by the real estate industry to believe that renting is a 100% loss and owning is a 100% gain. That is a lie. Look, paying rent is no more throwing money away than buying groceries is throwing money away. You are exchanging capital for a necessary service, shelter, geographical flexibility, and this is the most important part, a hard cap on your monthly liability. When you rent a house for $2,500 a month, $2,500 is the absolute maximum amount of money you will spend on housing that month, period. If the HVAC system dies, you make a phone call. If the roof leaks, you make a phone call. But when you own a house, your $4,318 monthly cost is just the minimum you will pay. It is the floor. If the HVAC system dies, you aren't making a phone call to a landlord. You are putting $8,000 on a credit card. Here's what most people don't realize about the current housing market. In 2026, we are in a completely unprecedented era where in nearly all major U.S. markets, it is drastically cheaper to rent a house than it is to buy the exact same house. Let's go back to our math. We established that carrying our painfully average $500,000 house costs $4,318 a month. In most suburban markets right now, you can rent that exact same caliber of house for about $2,500 a month. That is a difference of $1,818 every single month. Now, if you rent that house and use that $1,818 savings to finance a new luxury car or go on lavish vacations, then yes, you will stay poor forever. That is what the average person does. But you aren't the average person. You are going to use the rent and invest strategy. Imagine two friends, Alex and Jordan. They both make $95,000 a year, and they both have $25,000 saved up. Alex succumbs to the societal pressure. He buys the $500,000 house. He takes on the $4,318 monthly burden. For the next 10 years, Alex is house poor. He can't invest in his 401k, he stresses over every broken pipe, and his net worth is entirely trapped in the drywall of his house, which he can't access unless he takes on more debt or sells the house and pays a realtor 6% to do it. Jordan, on the other hand, ignores the societal pressure. Jordan rents the comparable house for $2,500. Then Jordan takes the $25,000 he would have used for a down payment and he puts it into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. Every single month, Jordan takes the $1,818 difference between renting and owning and automatically invests it into that exact same index fund.
Fast forward 10 years. Let's assume a historically conservative 8% annual return in the stock market. At the end of 10 years, Jordan has over $386,000 in pure liquid cash sitting in his brokerage account. If Jordan loses his job, he has $386,000 to fall back on. If Jordan decides he wants to move to Europe for a year, he breaks his lease and goes. His wealth is making him money while he sleeps, and it costs him $0 a year in property taxes, insurance, or maintenance to hold it. Meanwhile, Alex is still paying off interest to the bank. Over the first 10 years of a 30-year mortgage, the vast majority of your payment goes straight to interest, not principal. Out of Alex's $3,000 monthly mortgage payment, about $2,500 of it is just evaporating into the bank's profit margins. Tell me again who is actually throwing their money away. This is where the psychology gets really tough, though, because society is going to praise Alex. Alex gets the "congratulations on the new house" posts on Facebook. Alex's parents are proud of him. Society is going to pity Jordan. They are going to ask Jordan, "When are you finally going to settle down and buy a place?" They will view Jordan as financially behind, completely unaware that Jordan is sitting on nearly $400,000 in liquid wealth. You have to detach your ego from your living situation. You have to stop treating a mortgage like a personality trait or a trophy of adulthood. So what are your actionable steps right now, today, to actually fix your financial trajectory? Step 1. Run your personal unrecoverable cost audit. Look at the houses in your area. Calculate the unrecoverable costs of buying. That means the interest, the property taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance. Do not include the principal, because that goes back to you. Compare those unrecoverable costs to the cost of renting a similar home. If the unrecoverable costs of owning are higher than the cost of renting, you should rent. Mathematically, it is that simple. Step 2. Automate the wealth gap. If renting saves you $1,000 or $1,500 a month compared to buying, you must treat that difference like a mandatory bill. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a brokerage account the day your paycheck hits. Buy broad market index funds. Do not give yourself the chance to spend it. If you rent but you don't invest the difference, the entire strategy falls apart. Step 3. Delete the apps. If you know that you cannot mathematically afford a house right now without breaking the 28% rule, I want you to take your phone, hold down on the Zillow icon, and delete it. Stop window shopping for a lifestyle that will mathematically bankrupt you. Protect your mental peace. The market will be there when you are actually ready. Look, I know how frustrating this is. I know you feel like you did everything you were supposed to do and the economy just pulled the rug out from under you. It is unfair. The cost of housing in 2026 is brutally, undeniably disconnected from local wages. You have every right to be angry about that. But anger is not an investment strategy. You cannot control interest rates. You cannot control corporate landlords buying up neighborhoods. But you can control your own math. You can refuse to participate in a system that wants you highly leveraged and trapped. Choosing to rent and invest is not a failure. It is a highly calculated strategic move to protect your peace and build quiet, undeniable wealth in the background while everyone else is drowning in debt to keep up appearances. You are not behind. You are playing a smarter game. If this video finally made the math click for you, please hit the like button so the algorithm knows to share this with someone else who might be panic scrolling Zillow tonight. Hit subscribe so we can keep tearing down these toxic financial myths together, and leave a comment below letting me know what your rent versus buy math actually looks like in your city. Keep your head up, trust the numbers over the pressure, and I'll see you in the next one.